Thank you, Sushma, and good morning to everyone. I'm very honored to be with all of you. I don't know, when I will get the level of discipline that you all have, but I hope I will soon. Certainly something that is an aspiration for me. As far as the topic today that Sushma had asked me to cover, it's actually a topic very dear to my heart and probably will spark some debate. But the topic is sustainable diets, and as a nonprofit that promotes environmental sustainability, we always look for, what is good for both social environment and good for people and planet, right? So uh, just a little bit about our nonprofit, just a quick intro. As Sushma mentioned, we try to get individuals and organizations to follow a path, a journey, and we draw them in with some volunteerism. We do some cleanups and beginner workshops, which is going on a monthly basis right now. So you're all welcome to join if you live in the Dallas area. We also try to, through the coursework that I'm offering in the university, we do more practitioner training, so more deep dives into some of the topics. And then what we want to build is a community, because it's a journey for all of us. We're all trying to figure out, how to do the right thing, and make, work out the trade-offs and make conscious decisions, just like you all are trying to do the conscious living. We're trying to do that and bringing the environment into play as well. So that's something that we want to continue to grow as the community, and be able to help each other. So what are the main problems with diet, right? Let's start there. I think one of the main problems that we are facing today, particularly in the wealthy countries, is we're raising a lot of animals for food. And raising animals for food, mammals, cattle, particularly, beef and dairy, which is consumed very heavily in the wealthy countries, is a big cause of climate change. So, the greenhouse gases, in fact, their digestive systems of the large mammals, produces a lot of methane, which is actually a worse greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide that we all know about. So that's something that is a concern. The other thing is water use, right? There so much so of the crops that are cultivated to feed the animals, requires a lot of, like soybean, all these crops require a lot of water. And then the manure that they generate is also contaminating the water. So there's a lot of water pollution as well. So much of the land has to be cleared. All these beautiful Amazon rainforests in Brazil and so on are being cleared because these animals have to graze. So that depletes the soil, as we know, the grazing. So it's like a vicious cycle, right? One leads to the other. But besides rainforests being destroyed, so much of the land is also devoted to cattle rearing, and they're done in kind of inhumane conditions. It's called factory farming. So they try to pack in as many as they can so that they can maximize their output, right? Meanwhile, this is wealthy countries. Meanwhile, in not so wealthy countries, they might not be getting what they need, right, nutritionally. So it's a bit skewed. And what is all this, devastation as far as forests do to the animals? They lose their habitat, right? So we have enormous numbers of animals and plants and herbivores and pollinators. All these species are going extinct because their habitats are being destroyed. So it's our desire for the meat is causing some huge devastation, right, which is unsustainable. So this is the food system that's causing this, right? And as I mentioned, all these problems are happening, including the soil degradation. So what we're eating is not as nutritionally dense as we used to, probably in the past, and this is all because of this great hunger for certain types of food. And I think I mentioned the other points as well about the water and the forest clearance. But National Institute of Health said have made a statement, a very bold statement, that transitioning to plant-based food has the potential to reduce the land required for cattle farming and all of these things. It can cut greenhouse gas emissions by like 50%. That's a lot, right? There's other issues that happen with all these pesticides and fertilizers and antibiotics and herbicides being applied. The soil's getting more acid. As I mentioned, it's getting depleted, it's getting more acidified. So that can be cut back. And then all these fertilizers don't just sit there. They flow into our lakes and rivers. And then what happens there is all these nutrients are creating algae blooms. So, the algae start growing and they crowd out the sunlight and they create like dead zones. So you find like dead fish on the side of the lakes and rivers because they've become, the algae have just crowded everything out because of all these nutrients going into the lakes. The other thing is, as I mentioned, the water consumption, right? So much fresh water is being consumed, whether it's rainwater or, water bodies, that can be cut back, right? So with plant-based food, all these requirements get reduced. And we as humans eat food that's better for us and we can avoid chronic diseases. So what exactly is a plant-based diet? I mean, it's what it says, which is it's coming from plants, it's fruits, it's vegetables, it's dals, grains, nuts and seeds. All of these are plant-based diets. And in fact, it's a myth that meat gives you more protein than legumes and pulses. Seeds, pulse, even some grains give you just as much protein. So it's a bit of a myth. So let's talk food production. So these are, I know there's a lot of statistics on this page, but I'll just point out a few things. I don't know if you were aware that 23% of the agricultural land is used to create feed crops, not for human consumption, for animal consumption, to rear more cattle, more animals, right? And then the 77% of the agricultural land is used for the cattle, right? But that only provides us 18% of our calorie requirements, right? So, it's like so much land is being used for so little of our calories. So again, a really inefficient food production system. So let's switch to another topic, which is what is the carbon footprint of the foods? As expected, if you look at the 7 stages of food production, you look at the use of the land, the farm. Actually, land use and farming is the most create the most emissions, right? Compared to the rest of the stuff. It's the growing and the farming that takes up the most of the carbon emissions. The rest are as important, but those are big hitters. So if you look at the food choices here, it's the obvious ones, right? Beef is right at the top. Lamb and mutton come next. Cheese, surprisingly, dairy is also heavy. Chocolate, I'm sorry for those of you that love chocolate. Chocolate is a very thirsty, and it does require a high, it has a high carbon footprint. So you can go through, this is available. It's available. You can even Google the carbon footprints of food, but it allows you to make choices. It makes you think about like palm oil. Palm oil is actually used in many parts of India as well, but it is not. It has very high carbon footprint. Like, so look at oils that have less carbon footprint. So this is something that's useful, should be available to you when you go shopping for your foods. Actually, before I move off, there any surprises here besides the chocolate? Anything that surprised you on this list that has a high carbon footprint um, that you didn't think it did? Anyone wanting to venture a guess?
I thought the grains I was somehow thinking, but even the bananas, apples, I'm a little bit surprised that it leaves the carbon footprint
No, bananas is low.
low. Okay.
Yeah, the bananas and apples are very low.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is comparing like, citrus fruits, apples, all these are very low. And then it goes up, it starts getting heavier with eggs and fish. And
Yes.
surprisingly, olive oil is a little high,
Yes.
So those were my surprises. Like I was surprised by the chocolate. I knew about palm oil, but olive oil was a surprise to me because olive trees require a lot of, resources. So no, the ones at the bottom are low. So we're good there.
Yeah. Somebody texted olive oil. Gagan texted olive oil in the chat.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, no, that's a good point. That did come as a surprise to me. So, continuing on that topic, I want you to be familiar with, you're all familiar with the food pyramid, but I don't know if you're aware of the environmental pyramid. So, the environmental pyramid is actually like almost the reverse. So, what is, you know, what is high, like beef and, things like fish and so on are not as desirable, right, as what is at the bottom, which is fruits and vegetables and grains, like whole grains particularly, right? The refined grains are, again, not as good for you. So it's almost like an inverse, I would say, like the environmental pyramid is something to also consider and look at. And then the other thing that's interesting on this left-hand side is, you know, um, there's a recommendation for how many servings of each of these items a human needs, right? So obviously, the requirement for meat, you can see, is proteins, is what is consumed, right? The recommended versus the actual intake is much higher, right? Whereas for fruits and vegetables, the recommended is you know is much more, and what's being consumed is much less. So you can see it's like what's recommended by HHEP. That's not what we're doing. We're eating more protein than we need, that we should be eating. So that was an interesting thing as well. So how do we get to a path towards sustainable diets? So, first and foremost, what's the definition of a sustainable diet? It is something that is protective of the ecosystem, right? That is nutritionally healthy, that is safe for us, safe for the planet, ideally economically affordable, right? So, and has low footprint, low carbon impact. So, what defines that? What helps us get to a sustainable diet? Well, first and foremost, we went over that in the last few slides. Obviously, food choices is important, right? Plant-based food do have lower emissions than animal-based food. But one thing we also need to look at is biodiversity. Monoculture, or eating the same foods, is not good for us or the planet. We should eat more diverse foods, right? So just like biodiversity is important for the ecosystem, for us as well, like today, 12 foods comprise 75% of our diet. That's too little, right? We should eat more diverse foods. So, food choices is very important. The other thing is food production. I referred to this earlier as well, that the land use and the farming stages actually accounts for 80% of the emissions. That's where where the harm is happening, right? Transportation is actually not as much. It's 10% of the greenhouse gas emissions. Um, so, we talk about buy local, and that is important, of course, but it's actually less important than food, what we eat, right? So if you're eating beef that's local, that your choice of beef is skewing the curve, right? So whether it's local or not doesn't make any difference, because that's only 10% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So just think that way, right? Your food choice is kind of more important than the distance the food travels, right? And then the other thing is your household, habits, right? So one of the biggest and saddest things is 19% of food is wasted. Um, that's a billion meals a day, right? That is wasted, that could go to people that are in need of the food. And it's like simple things like poor planning, over, like, I think even we all have experience of catering where we overestimated and there was so much food left over, right? But the poor planning, poor storage, all these reasons comprise, to why so much food is wasted. And it's not just the food that's wasted, all the energy that went into making the food, the labor, all of those things, the human capital, the, monetary capital, all that is wasted as well. The other thing is, when we throw food in the landfill and we're not composting it, it actually produces high amounts of methane. And I mentioned to you earlier, just like with a manure, um, decomposing food produces methane, and that is even more harmful than carbon dioxide, right, in terms of global warming. Okay, so let's talk about what we can do, right, as individuals, as organizations. What are some of the things? And I would want this to be kind of a discussion. Um, So I'll mention a few things that are on here, but I'd love to hear from you on what you think would help, right? So definitely making sure that we do meatless days, or add a day in a week, or make sure menus are at least 50% plant-based. But I'd like to hear from you. What are some of the things you would do? And you can pick one of these that are on the slide and talk about it as well. Anybody brave enough to venture their suggestions?
Hi, good morning. This is Anil.
Morning.
I definitely
And
I say that don't overbuy. That's what we always do. The places like a Costco and all, we definitely overbuy, and eventually we don't even finish on time. And
yeah,
the fruits, they get bad, and it's very difficult to throw, but eventually we'll be throwing. And I never realized that it produces the methane, which is even more danger than the carbon monoxide. This is something, carbon, this
yeah.
is something I come to know today only.
Yeah, no, carbon dioxide, definitely it is. It's a really horrible gas. And there's always the freezer, right? Like whether it's food, obviously. So one of the things I recommend is keep food raw rather than cook it and then waste it, right? It stays longer when it's raw. But if you have cooked it, put it in the freezer. So let your freezer be your friend. But as you said, Anil, don't overbuy, right?
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Um, so I'm like looking at the food sharing app. Geeta.
Yes,
Maybe
that's
that's one thing I can think
yes,
from
that's
my
a
side.
great idea. So there's a if you haven't tried this app called Too Good to Go, it's an app that you can download on your phone. I have gone, like, even restaurants, HEB, Whole Foods. I've gone and picked up stuff, and it's half the price, and they're going to throw it away, and you can buy it, right? It's not free. You do pay something for it, but it's a very heavily discounted rate, right? So, and it prevents the waste. So I would highly recommend that you look into that app. Too Good to Go.
Very interesting, Gita. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
I am vegan, including both of my daughters. So we
Wonderful.
have adapted the plant-based diet like around 4 or 5 years ago. But some of the things that you have mentioned are very insightful. With the
Yeah.
facts, especially the youth, if because they don't because they're not aware of all these, they continue with our just a conditioning way or educated way,
Yeah.
right? But if they know these facts, the kids are very much compassionate to know and to even to adapt this actually. So
Absolutely.
depend
And
on-
and I would say go one step further, you can even grow your own, right? A lot of
yes,
vegetables, Dallas does allow us to grow for a long season. So
true.
that's one step further. You know what's going, because obviously, I mentioned monoculture is a problem. The other problem is inorganic, um, even if you're going to eat meat, you should look at sustainably farmed meat and fish. But even for vegetables, like the amount of pesticide, herbicide, fungicide, all this stuff that they use, with if that's going into us as well, right? And
Yeah.
going into rivers and lakes. So um, even if it costs a bit more, organic or grow your own, right? That's another part of sustainable diets.
And this is Sridevi. One
Yeah.
other thing I'm interested in serving vegetarian food at all events. What
Mhm.
I noticed is some of the we are vegetarians, from the beginning,
Yeah.
but some of our I have noticed that for social status or somebody thinks something, if we don't serve meat, so that's how. But at least if they are not eating, and just because for someone, one meal at the event, you don't have to serve. That's how
Yeah.
I would encourage, at least to cut down at one event. Again, as I heard, at the events, how much food we waste.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great thing. And we, for all One Earth, One Chance events, we only do plant-based, and we
Hmm.
use reusable, like go one step further, use reusable
Yeah.
plates. Also,
Hmm.
don't trash so much plastic, because that's the other scourge of this earth is plastic, right?
Yes.
So yeah, no, I love that. I love that you you flout convention and don't do the 12 dishes and half of them are meats. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my take is that when we say organic, to find a good organic is a challenge in the market. Though you may get the print that it is organic, but
Yeah.
it's again difficult to believe. So if the people, those are growing in their local farming,
Yeah.
and that can be circulated among the network to buy from them, I think that will be a better
Interesting.
choice rather
Okay.
going to the market.
I got it. No, actually, what you have is a really good suggestion, and it's something that we're actually trying to work towards. Where, whether it's clothing or food or extra produce that you've grown in your garden, and you want someone else to, buy it off you, or you donate it, whatever the case might be, to have that kind of community. I think I mentioned that at the beginning, that we want to create that community. That is a vision for us, but I agree with you that I would just join, like, I think on Facebook and WhatsApp, there are a lot of these vegetable gardening groups. Sushma, you might be aware of some. I would just join them, because a lot of them do donate extra produce, but it may not be sufficient for your household needs. So I think you'll have to kind of there are CSAs, community supported agriculture, But what I found with that, I have tried it myself, is it's limited. It doesn't give you, it gives you what's in season. So you're not going to get all the, and obviously seasonal diet is good for health. So if you're good with that, there are CSAs, and they drop off a box for you, right? So every week they give you organic, and those are definitely certified organic. But yeah, I mean, at some level, only if you grow your own will you know what you're putting in your on your plate.
It
Very
is
true.
it is very hard to recognize the organic food, though it's written organic, but how we can recognize that's a true organic?
um I mean, I think places like Whole Foods would not mark something as organic if it wasn't. And you had some point you got to trust the labels.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no I mean, although there is labeling, you're right that there should be healthy skepticism, because I don't think it's really like audited that properly, or any of that. So, um, but unfortunately, that's all you have to go on. As I said, the only way to be completely sure is if you're growing your own. But otherwise, you
Mm-hmm.
just have to trust the label. They're USDA labels, and you have to know what is, and there's a whole other session on labels, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
natural, there's organic, there's pasture fed, there's grass fed, there's all these, like for eggs and so on. So there's all these different labels, and they're hard to follow sometimes, but at some level you have to trust the label, or go with community, as I said, the community supported agriculture, CSA, or grow your own, right? Unfortunately, those are the only choices available to us, but you're still better off choosing organic.
You mean USDA are trustful organic
USDA is
literally?
they're the ones who
Mhm.
allow a company to mark their product as,
Okay.
or like those labels are governed. I have a chart, I can provide that to Sushma, but
Mhm.
there's a chart that explains what each of those labels mean. But
Mhm.
whether there's false advertising, you know, that
Mhm.
could happen, right? You, as a consumer, you
Mhm.
just have to, yeah, be careful.
And I saw purchase ugly fruits and vegetable. What does that mean?
Say that again. Oh, the ugly
Purchase
fruits.
ugly fruit.
Yes, so
What
that
does
was
that
a bit
mean?
of a joke, but sometimes, I talked about food waste, right? And if a apple is little dented, or if there's like it's misshapen or something, they throw it away. Like nobody buys it. But there's
Mhm.
nothing the matter with that fruit, right? You can still eat it. So I say adopt those ugly fruits and veggies, bring them home, eat them, don't waste them. That's what I meant.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I think there is a question from Deborah. Gita, how do you find the community co-ops?
The co-ops, yeah. So there's a whole list of them. Restorative farms is one that comes to mind. Look up restorative farms. I actually know the owner, Brad Boa. He's the owner of restorative farms, and he does CSA. But you can actually just Google CSA near me, and you'll probably find a bunch of them. But I like some of these requests. I'm happy to follow up and provide, right? That if you want a list of CSA farms, like Layla Farms, which is right next door to me in Parker, is a CSA farm. They're a little bit more expensive, the CSAs, but you know that you're getting the right stuff. Okay.
My one more suggestion that people those are growing organic, but to get the certification is more expensive. So we
Mm.
must encourage these people, those are growing organic, but it may not be certified, but it is true organic. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. If your friend has a vegetable garden and they tell you it's organic, you can probably trust them more than um, because there's something called greenwashing that companies do. And greenwashing is they make their product appear more environmentally friendly than it is. So, yeah, with brands, sometimes they do that. Okay, so good discussion. But I just want to close with, honestly, I highly encourage you, because you're you have inquiring minds. We actually have a series of workshops. There's 12 workshops, one a month on different topics. So our next one is on the economy. We had one on food and agriculture. We had one on consumption and production. So every second Saturday of the month, we meet at a different city and we host a workshop. We bring experts out that you can meet and ask questions of. They're really well researched topics. So I highly encourage you, if you can grab the QR code from here and join us, and happy to have more discussions on these key topics.
Definitely, Gita. This is very interesting. I would love to do one day.
Yeah, and the next one's on December 13th in McKinney, so it's very close by.
Very good, Gita. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, one of our main vision of this organization is promoting the plant-based diet, bringing the awareness of plant-based diet, and you have provided the research and facts which are very much needed. So very and also some of the things I've seen are really insightful and eye-opening. Some of the things I know as well.
It was for me as well, because believe me, I was the other end of the spectrum, when I started my journey. So it's been a lot of education for me, and it'll continue to be. I think things are evolving and we're learning more things. So, yeah. I'm so glad you selected this topic, and I think many of you are probably already on plant-based diets. So, um, you know, definitely keep that motivation alive, and let's bring others over from the. I think if you are a meat eater, or a fish eater, just be sustainable. I would say, choose sustainably. Don't do factory farming. If you might see farmed fish, that's grown in, they take the wild caught and they put it in the, and then they farm them, right? And then it's really sad, after that, right? And it's not as nutritionally good as the wild caught. So anything that's factory farmed, it's just inhumane,
And I would also recommend everyone to watch Netflix. Your body is what you eat.
Yeah.
It give you a good insight what is happening around.
Or food is medicine. There's a number of those shows that are good.
And some of the documentaries on the cowspiracy, seaspiracy, those are also very eye-opening.
Yeah. Actually, one of the charts I used was from Cowspiracy.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Very eye-opening documentaries, those.
Yeah. Hard to watch, some of them.
Sushma and Geeta and everyone, I have a quick question. So when you said plant-based means even the milk or any dairy will come as a part of the plant-based, or?
Yeah, they do. They have, so you have to be careful with that, because certain, there's oat milk, for instance, almond milk, and so on, but some of them do have additives. So you just have to be careful. You get a good brand, but there are plant-based milk. And I actually own I have a machine that I put the almonds into, and it generates the milk for me. I don't even have to strain it. So it's worth investing in one of those, or just buy it, if you don't have time to do that. But there are many, I think, Sushma, you said you do plant milk, so
yes,
I'm
I
sure.
have a nut maker as well, the nut milk maker.
The nut milk maker.
Yeah.
So the nut milk maker can give like a yogurt also. We can make the yogurt with that too.
So I don't. What I've been for I use something called kefir. Have any of you heard of kefir? They're kefir grains. You can buy them off Amazon. But what you do is, so that's the only one that I use real milk for. But I use the bottle, the glass bottles, and I return the bottles and I get the credit. And, I don't use the plastic bottles. But what I do is I put the kefir grains in the dairy and in the milk, and I make it that way. So I don't have experience with doing nut yogurt, but I do know friends who have done it. They do cashew milk yogurt very successfully, and it tastes very good. But I personally have not tried that yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But so I don't know, Sushma, if you have tried nut.
I even haven't tried Gita,
Yeah,
but I know
it's
some of
not so
the
easy. Yeah.
some of the friends have tried it, even including the with the peanut milk. I heard
Oh wow. Okay.
it's good.
Yeah.
So even I haven't tried.
Yeah. But it's the same process. I think
True.
uh, either like how you make yogurt, you do it the
Mhm.
same way.
So these days it's very easily available, the vegan culture. So you can
Okay.
bring in and put in your nut milk, boil it and add it, but it will take, I believe it would take 2 or 3 turns to come out very good.
Yeah. I'd be curious to do an experiment if anybody wants to try it. If cholesterol levels come down with a plant-based diet, I'd be. I mean, obviously they say that you can avoid chronic disease like diabetes and heart disease and even some cancers. But like cholesterol is a good way for us to go check. Hey, this is pre and this is after I switched to plant-based milk. What happened, right? Did my
Mm.
cholesterol come down? So it's a good experiment for us to try.
Yep.
Okay.
One more point.
Yeah.
Uh, when we go switch over to the best, and we have started choosing the best, we can't have the food outside because the moment you take the food outside, you immediately get affected. That's another challenge we are having.
Say that again. When you take it
When
outside, meaning?
I am saying that when we are taking all good quality foods at home, preparation at home, doing everything good with our body, we are our
Oh, when you eat
body is
out. Yeah.
dependent on that. When you take the food outside, then it
Yeah.
becomes a challenge.
Yeah. It does. It really does. Although I would say, so I had wanted to add the slide, but I think I ran out of time. But there is something called uh, there are certain restaurants which get certification. Like Panera Bread actually has, is certified to do it to offer a very good variety of plant-based options. So I think it depends on where you eat out, and I've become very particular. Like I just can't go do the rich, um all these Indian restaurants do like very rich food sometimes, and I actually do go seek out the ones which provide healthy food. And I think you'll see the calories really are much more minimal. There's um, I think Seasons 52, True Food Kitchen, Panera. There's a few restaurants which, cater to healthy food. But I guess if you go out and have pakoras and stuff, then yes, it's going to be,
Yeah, very true.
yeah.
Yeah, it's little challenging definitely, but I think once you start, you will get used to it.
Yeah.
And it has become more easily these days. There are lots of apps which will show you what is the nearest vegan restaurant, plant-based restaurant
Yeah.
as well.
There's a
Um,
place called something Hut. It's on in Addison, and they serve even the meats and stuff are all
Plant-based,
vegan.
exactly.
Yeah. I think it's Love Hut or Buddha Hut or something like that. It's an Asian place. They have Asian food, but it's all vegan. So I think what someone suggested, like getting a list of vegetable gardens who would be willing to sell to you, getting a list of vegan and vegetarian restaurants. Like as an organization, you got, you have a community already. These are good things for you all to create a list and share with each other. And if you do that, share it with us as well. We could use, we could add it to our website and make it available to people, these tips, right? On where they can go eat out, where they can get, produce that's truly organic, things like that. I think these resources, community resources, something you all can help build.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, Gita. I will work on the list. Actually, I already have the draft.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I think my daughter has good list even to when we go buy in the store. She has everything
Wonderful.
which we can buy, which cannot buy.
I see.
Even because even with the cheese, even with the, you know, sometimes the butter or whatever they have, even they use the non-meat products in there as well.
Yeah,
So,
there are, it's called
yeah.
ours. There's some name they use, you're right?
Yeah,
Rennet.
Rennet,
Yeah.
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 So even, yeah, I have a list which are true vegan and
Yeah.
even sugar, we have to use vegetarian sugar. So, I mean, it's too
Yeah.
little bit more deep, I believe, but
Yeah,
we
but
can
cheese in
select them.
general has such a high carbon footprint.
True.
I really, I don't do a lot of cheese these
Yes.
days. Yeah, I do tofu.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, tofu, and we can make lot of plant-based cheese. I mean, tofu, I would say, even with
yeah,
watermelon seeds, stuff like that. There is very interesting recipes in the Google. We sometimes
okay.
do experiments. Some come out
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
some are challenging, but
yeah.
it's what I believe sometimes. So,
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, it's the most important thing. Like we are, we're meditating, trying to be conscious, in our thoughts and actions. But this is just adding another level of consciousness where we think twice before what we eat, put in our bodies as well. Because, our body is also a temple. What do you put inside it, right? And you are what you eat, you know. Um, and
yes,
it it
yeah.
it affects your mood also, so I think
Definitely,
this
yeah.
is an
And we
excellent.
have, yeah, and we have made a habit like if we are traveling, we book a hotel with a kitchen. So we cook at
Yeah,
least one or two meals. I know it
absolutely.
seems like challenging, but if we plan well, it's very good actually.
Yeah,
So,
actually the first night we arrive, we go to the local grocery store and
uh-huh,
get stuff, so we don't have to
true.
keep eating out.
Yeah.
We eat out maybe once in the middle of the
Yes.
day, and the other two meals is I totally agree with you, that's the best
Yeah.
way to travel because you get sick of eating out,
Yes. Yeah. So. Yep.
and it controls what you put in your body. Yeah, for sure.
So I see the Loving Heart Healthy Cuisine. That
Loving Hut,
the
that's the one.
Loving Heart,
I love
and
that place. Yeah, it was good.
and I also see happycow.net. That's a site for vegan and vegetarian friendly eaters.
Oh, okay.
Um,
How do you manage, Sushma, when you travel
So
to
a lot
find
of
vegan?
times we pack our food, Geeta, and we cook our food. So we have traveled to Hawaii last year. We stayed for 10 days and we have shopped with local vegetables and fruits, and we enjoyed it so much. For me, it is easy because all of our family is land-based.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's wonderful. And there are lists, I'm sure, there's local resources you can ask around to find the right places.
yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, and most of the time we are cooking.
Yeah.
Sometimes we freeze our own food, and when we go to the hotel, we just warm it and eat.
Yeah.
So we can
So a
cook at
friend of
least.
mine, I don't know if you know her, but Jyoti Shankar, she writes travel itineraries and she includes in there because she's vegetarian, not vegan, but she she writes down like where you can eat. She provides all those details. So there are some travel guides that
Blogs.
cater to vegetarian and vegan.
Very interesting. Nice.
Anything
So
else?
there is one question from the Gagan. I know
Yeah.
this is like, so sometimes sustainability becomes another extreme lifestyle. So moderation might be the key. So any comments on that, Geeta? I mean, we
I
always
think it's an
have that.
extreme lifestyle to not live sustainably, because you're inviting disease and destruction of the planet. So I think it's more extreme not to be sustainable. I'm a bit biased in my view, but I find it easier to, there are some, it's about habits, right? Why do we brush our teeth in the morning? We do certain things. They are habits that have formed over time, and we adhere to it. We don't even think twice, right? Before to do those things, taking baths or brushing. So these are, yes, maybe the culture of convenience that we have, perhaps not in India, but over here, I think we've learned a culture of convenience, like what's quick, what's convenient, what's easy. And we've even eating habits, all that, the fast food. I think moving back, as being more conscious, moving back to what we were and thinking twice about the things we do. Once it becomes a habit, you can't do anything else. Like you will not enjoy the food that's a certain kind. You will want the food that's good for you. Your body will start reacting to what you're eating and drinking. So I think these are habits. And there's a really good book called it's about forming habits. It's like for 90 days, if you do something, it becomes a habit, you know? And so I think it's a journey, and it may not be something you can do overnight, but I pick a few. You don't have to do everything, right? Maybe composting is hard for you. Pick a few things that make sense for you and follow those, right? There's no sustainability, you know, step that is not natural and good for you. So, but again, there are trade-offs. Like you might say, you know what, like I like to travel, so I do feel bad getting on an airplane because of the fuel consumption. But I love travel so much. I said, you know what, I will do it at least 4 times a year or 2 times a year, whatever. So I made some trade-offs in my mind. So I think each one of you has to make those trade-offs of how much of a pain is it, how extreme is it in your opinion, or how good is it for you, and then you can pick the 5 things that you want to do and just adopt those.
Yeah, beautifully said,
Yeah.
Geeta. Yeah. The way we are living right now, it made us believe that it is normal. But if we bring the awareness, we will understand more things, I believe.
Exactly. And read, educate yourself on these things, because we wait for governments to regulate, and but there's no shortcut, right? You will still have to educate yourself. You have to read up. I mean, I learn every day, and so keep yourself up to date, ask questions, and keep yourself up to date.
Beautiful. I think it's very beautiful interactive session today, much needed.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you,
even your
Geeta.
comments and questions gave me food for thought. So, yeah, keep up the journey, and reach out to me if you've got any questions through Sushma or directly. Our website is oneearth1chance.org, so you can also contact us through that. But we're happy to help you in your journey.
Definitely, Geeta.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It was great meeting you all. Bye.
Yeah, same.